Hello, everyone, to our second GitLab Duo Coffee Chat. And today I'm joined by Marco. Do you want to shortly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I'm Marco. I'm based in Italy. GitLab related. I am part of the GitLab community core team. So not technically a team member, but we do collaborate with the GitLab team. And in my day-to-day job, I'm a desktop developer, mostly writing C and C++ while working on 3D environments. And I also do some web-based stuff and mobile development. That pretty much covers it all.
It's great. I probably can learn a lot from you with regards to C and C++ and um, your experience. And this was also actually one of the ideas we had thinking about doing a GitLab Duo Coffee Chat together. Figuring out how we can use code suggestions to create code or to generate code, helping us through the development lifecycle, but also then looking into security vulnerabilities, maybe figuring out a way of switching into using Ruby or learning Ruby and seeing how GitLab, how it can contribute to GitLab itself. So technically we are aiming for 1 hour, but let's see how it goes.
Right.
The recording will have timestamps so that everyone can follow along. From an agenda point of view, I will just quickly share my screen and share my screen. There is an advanced option to share a portion of the screen,
Yeah, you can do that.
which typically is half of my screen because my 34-inch one, you should be able to see
VS Code.
VS Code. And
Yep.
if I switch you, we should also be able to see
Yeah.
the agenda. There's nothing fancy in here. We will take some notes throughout the coffee chat and also add that into the GitLab Duo product feedback issues when applicable. But yeah, essentially our work will start in this repository, which I already created. And this is checked out over here as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what I can do now is like jump in directly and say, I know everything about C++. I know how to create that, but maybe I don't. And I'm just starting with C++. I don't know the project structure. I don't know which compilers or build tools I want to use. And the thing I can do is um, I can navigate over here in Visual Studio, but I could also do the same in the GitLab UI over here in the help view. Can open GitLab Duo Chat,
Mm-hmm.
which brings up Duo Chat on the right-hand side. And now I can say, well, I I need to like formulate a question how I'm talking to a human and provide as much context as needed. And also like iterate on the responses and refining the context. So I want to start a new C++ project. Please provide me with best practices, git ignore CI/CD configuration, build tools. And I mean, spoiler alert, I know most things, but I really want to see what could be useful here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if for build tools is going to mention, for example, CMake or stuff like that.
Right, CMake or other tools. I I have experienced both, and my personal opinion is that CMake is better than other tools, but that depends on what you're using. Um, Google Test, okay, it's an interesting test framework. Code quality, GitLab Pages, okay. We can use a C++ template. We could also use auto DevOps. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, using GitLab pages to deploy your build artifacts is going to be challenging.
Well, it's you could use that, but I think it's a good summary of what to do. Maybe it makes sense like to not to ask too many questions, but rather say, let's I want to start a C++ project using CMake.
Yeah. And by the way, I agree that CMake is bad.
Yeah, I mean for CMake, I don't know if CMake works with C. For
It
C
does.
projects.
Yeah, you can create projects for C as well.
An example project tree. So yeah, I mean other tools and other conf and other make also works well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, that's quite nice actually.
Well, actually, project layout is the word I was looking for. Project tree is just my bad English. We need to use a CMakeLists text file. Oh, it's great that it's described. This is the configuration file. So whenever using CMake and the commands later on, this defines the, I could just read out loud, not thinking. It defines the project. You are adding the source files, including the directories, the compiler options when using GCC or Clang or another compiler. Okay, additional can be added later. Okay, so my next question would probably be create
Examples, please.
create a git ignore.
Mm.
And I actually should have asked the question in Visual Studio Code. So let's do a quick context switch into Visual Studio Code. And on the left-hand side, we have GitLab Duo Chat here. And okay, sometimes the session is
Oh, it keeps the session from the same repo.
it should keep the session from the project, but maybe
Maybe reloading VS Code.
yeah, actually it's a good idea to reload VS Code because I also want to enable um, the settings for there's a setting to capture the keyboards,
Oh, yeah.
which is I think screencast mode. A GitLab team member was super helpful, Mike, in Mike Lombard, I think in the feedback issue, but now I cannot find it. Toggle screencast mode. Okay, great.
Yeah, screencast mode.
So now I have a screencast mode. No. Okay. Maybe it works the other way around when I ask something in here, it syncs it to my other session. But in general, I'm now copying that. I could also, and this is a feature request I want to add for GitLab Duo Chat is I want to have a copy button here as well, or maybe have a shell history for anything that I type here.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, actually, now I press Command V. Great. So don't feel irritated if you see that throughout the video. It's just a helpful way to see which keystrokes are being set. So please generate an example project tree. It's working on an answer, so it's thinking a little bit more. But yeah, in essence, we should be getting a similar
It's basically the same.
response, or basically the same. Yeah, the reason why I mentioned similar is that AI is not predictable. So sometimes the answers might be the same, but sometimes it also might add some more content or add a different suggestion. So when the answer is not correct, or when you feel like there could be more context being added, ask, join, like continue the conversation, and I also, and we will try that with code suggestions later on. If the suggestion works, but it's not the best code quality, delete it, retry it, and just keep on learning. Okay, we want to create the example tree. Yeah, copying that doesn't make sense now, but over here, I can just like start creating a CMakeLists.txt. Yeah, and it's important that it's named like that, so it gets recognized. Now the question is, we were asked to create a source directory, and no, not here, but here. Should probably remember all the shortcuts in Visual Studio Code. And
Tests.
tests, exactly. Tests and build. Okay, build is an opinionated variant, but let's just use what is proposed here. I was also just wondering if I can like move that to the right-hand side.
I think you can split the left panel or move that to the right panel. If you go to the icon on the bar at the left and you drag and drop the Duo Chat icon to the right side, you should be able to have both.
Oh, nice. Thanks. I'm learning something new today, because I really want to keep the panel open while I write code. So yeah, this is the best view ever. Now we want to create tests, and we also want to create the build directory. Okay. Now we should create a new file, just like main CPP. And CPP is like the file extension for C++. There we could start writing code.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the CMakeList syntax. Create and maybe I should disable
Screencast for
the screencast mode and maybe continue mentioning which keyboard shortcuts I'm using. I will do that now because it can be a little annoying if you see me typing a lot.
yeah.
Let's create a CMake lists text file for my C++ project. Let's see what happens.
And in theory, this should have context about the project structure for the files at least.
It should know about the open scope. There is a way to like enhance that with like repository X-ray, which is a new feature which I didn't test yet, but I think it's adding more context for GitLab Duo is helpful to get better responses. And we can also test that. I mean, in this sense, there is nothing in the project yet, so it just proposes what it knows. Since we are following the example, we can just copy that, and then figure out what. No, this is not this. We should actually using this one, and it says minimum CMake version is 3.10. Don't know which one is the current one, but if you're using CMake 2, or CMake version 2, some language things won't work. The project is my project, which we probably want to rename. And let's do something else. Tanuki. And this also should be, no, maybe, okay, let's not confuse things. Let's call it GitLab Duo, and this one needs also be renamed. So the C standard is like 11. We could also set it to 14, 17, 20, 23, I think. But this essentially instructs the compiler which standard it should be using. Add executable defines that GitLab Duo will be the generated executable using main CPP as a source code entry point. We can add more when we expand the project. It's correct. Oh, it's just okay. It's just a new line. The target include directories are using the current source directory and the include path, which we have over here. I don't know exactly what enable testing does.
That should turn on CTest.
Okay, so we can, if you're following the test structure, this should work then. Okay, let's try that.
There's only one thing that's wrong, and that's the path to the main.cpp file, because it's the source subdirectory.
Yeah, and it should actually, it should probably use this.
Yeah.
Maybe there's also a shortcut path to the source file, but I do know it depends on the C++ project, which I think in my previous C++ project, we had a totally different file structure for like, this is the backend, this is like the utility, or using lib as a way to like add more function in a mono functionality in a mono repository. So it really depends on how the project is being built or what the development guidelines in your company or in your open source project require you. If you don't have development guidelines, try to follow best practices. But I think it's great to have a little help and not trying to find an example somewhere in Google, which is my go-to path, or has been my go-to path for a while now.
Yeah.
Or copy pasting something I created 10 years ago. Having fancy bugs inside. So what I want to do now, what we can do now, is write some source code. And I do know that like int main and return 0, return something is the entry path for C++, but let's pretend I don't know that. Oops, this is Python. You can write a C++ comment using 2 slashes or like different variants about it, but we're using code suggestions in a way that we are creating a source code comment and then trying to use a prompt basically to generate a suggestion what we want to implement. And in this regard, we want to say, well, create, or I mean, the simplest example is print hello world and say hi to Marco. And I can see that that it did something. So the icon, which was previously there, I'm just like removing it now and going back, can see that a code suggestion is being requested. And also the suggestions differ based on the context or on the situation. So in this regard, I got like two, like printing hello world and saying hi Marco. This is somehow what I wanted to have. You can accept that using the tab command, but you can also accept the word, which on Mac is command and cursor on the right hand side, which I probably will show you in a bit. And there's also a small context menu where I can accept the line and always show the toolbar if you need that. But for working in the same context, it's helpful to use just the cursor, which works like this, pressing command. And so I can like accept specific items if I want to. And this is me like holding command and pressing cursor all the time. But I could also say I press tab and accept everything. The problem here is now that STDC out is not included. I think
it's missing IO stream.
It's missing IO stream. So include all necessary headers. And this is something I've seen with other languages as well. Sometimes it's not adding the headers because it doesn't know about the context, or it could become better. So this is probably this is something for the product feedback. But in essence, it allows me to like ask for better suggestions by refining the prompt. So you can write multi-line comments. You can even go further like that. And pressing tab allows me to accept that. But also it tries to guess what to do next, but maybe my my configuration wasn't correct. Oh, I shouldn't have pressed this now.
Try to give a little bit more context, for example, because we are definitely missing the outer function, for example, the main function. So writing, for example, something like write a main function, including the necessary headers and saying hi to Marco.
Which
okay.
You know the prompts better than I do. It's great. And I think this is something also to like learn or like change in the habit of saying like, what do I want to do? So I get better suggestions of saying, well, I need to instruct the C++ to say I want a function. So not just like saying print something, so it prints something, but really providing the context of please do that in that specific way. And I probably spent some hours doing that for Rust and also for Python. So it also needs some learning investment to really include that.
Yeah.
So this should work. Now I don't know how to compile that.
Okay.
How to compile the source code using CMake. And I mean, I know that how it works, but there are probably different answers to that. Okay, yes. CMake requires a build directory, runs CMake to generate the make files. So like it translates the CMakeList text file or the menu you might be having in your source code directory. And then we can use make to call the compiler to build things and so on. This is a good answer.
Yep.
We have the build directory already. The only thing we now need is a terminal. So we need the command line to build that. Or we could also configure Visual Studio Code. But to be honest, I'm faster on the terminal now. And it's also available in Visual Studio Code here. So I'm in this directory and we have created a build directory and we are changing into build. Maybe I can, okay. Zooming into the terminal zooms into everything. But I'm currently in the build directory.
Yep.
So CMake ... like building the outer directory, does some magic and throws an error. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yes.
Because you need to set up the tests. Maybe it's just easier to try without them for the moment.
It's the test. I thought like the source directory. Okay. So what I can do is this a comment? Yeah, in CMake it's this one. So maybe
Yep.
let's just comment this out. And I have auto saving enabled and try that again. Okay, now it works. Now it configures the file, writes that to the build directory, and we can see probably it's make it a little bigger here. It creates a CMake cache file and some other things it needs. We shouldn't be worried about it, but we can now run make in the build directory, or what I prefer using is running make -c and saying I want to run that from this directory. And it builds the main object, create links or uses the linker to create an executable. And now the question is what happened in the build directory. The binary is directly in the build directory and we can run it. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Also, the missing new line makes sense because there isn't any. So
Yep.
what we can do, like as a fix now, and I didn't do anything. I just put my cursor there and pressed space. I get a suggestion to add standard end line, which is a new line. Can save that. Run the build command again, and run it again, and I get a new line here. Okay. I mean, this is great.
Yep.
But what else can we build?
I'm curious to see because I always, for example, one of the things that I always go back to Google because I never remember how to do it is, for example, sorry, that was my cat.
No worries. Cat wants us to learn some C++.
Yeah. So if you have an STD vector of elements and I find one element and then want to get the index of that element.
Okay. So we can like extend our example into testing some algorithms. Okay. So my indent isn't working in that regard, but it's fine. The first thing I need is like generate a vector, generate a list with random integers. Or yeah, just trying to think through like, okay.
Okay.
This is more than I expected, but yes, let's try that. The only thing I don't like here is like it's not indented, but we don't want to print it. So at some point it's like I want to generate some test data, and now oops, for some reason I keep pressing shift. I don't want to print the list now, but I want to find.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's suggesting itself what to do.
Yeah, it probably can read our mind, which is somehow a little creepy, but it will learn the more source code or the more code you have available in the context, the better the suggestions will get. So using the standard cout high Marco doesn't provide that much context, but now we have like a data structure, and get its index in the list. Let's see what happens.
Yes. That's
okay.
That's working. I'm curious to see if it can. I'm really just testing it out as we go. Try to change the prompt to find the largest number in the list using the standard library.
Did I initialize? Oh yeah. Before we continue, I just want to persist what we have been learning.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, this was a mistake. I didn't add a build ignore yet. Learning new Git commands every day. So this should provide us with like we have added this, and this, and the build command build should exist. No, it doesn't have to exist. We want to add, and we could ask Duo Chat, but I really want to just exclude the build directory now. Oh yeah. And I know you can do that through the UI as well, but sometimes it's the CLI is just faster. Add the first working examples. So yeah. Okay. So we wanted to change the prompt. What I wanted to do before prompting this was, oh yeah, I wanted to print it.
The
Yeah,
system knows you.
I mean, I know the syntax like std cout, and I'm also a fan of using std double colon instead of using namespace std. So I always know which what is imported. But yeah, I mean, I want to repeat the build command, and I was just using Control R to search the terminal history here, and I also want to execute it. Yeah, okay. I mean, we cannot verify it because we filled it with random numbers now. But executing this should provide. Oh no, it's a static compiled binary. It doesn't change over time.
I guess that's because we are calling around without changing the seed.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it makes more sense to create like a linear list or something like that. But we can continue like following up on your suggestion on changing the prompt somehow. So how how should we change that?
So I would try to change the prompt very slightly, just saying find the largest number in the list using the standard library.
Oh. Now the suggestion is maybe I make this a little less.
I mean, max element is not something that I know, but they might have added that. Oh, it is. Wow. It's using C++ 17.
Okay, so it doesn't know that we want to use C++ 11 in C++ and which standard it requires. I mean, in my previous life, I was using Visual Studio and the MSDN library to look up things. And I figured I can just use GitLab Duo Chat to do the same and maybe even provide more context around it.
Yeah.
Especially because I think I'm still stuck at C++ 11. And I use auto and initializer lists and some fancy stuff. But I also know that there have been certain attempts to make the language more async or like providing parallel and coroutines and other things. But I have no idea. And I probably don't want to read change logs or 500 pages books explaining me how a different algorithm now works. But yeah, the max element function is used to find it takes 2 iterators. Okay. Yeah, this explains begin and end because this is an iterator.
Yeah, that's good.
And it was actually introduced in the C++ 11 standard.
Yeah, I was looking at the C++ reference.com and it was mentioning C++ 17, but maybe they changed it.
Maybe. Let's try it.
Yeah, that's only there's only one way to find out.
Oh yeah, let's see what it does. It should tell me when a suggestion is not working, it can be helpful like to delete a line, press enter and go again. I still want to have like a function to trigger that manually from the UI. Okay. Actually, I wanted to print it because otherwise cannot test it in a simple fashion. It's building. And yeah, it's still 78 because we didn't do anything here.
Yeah.
This works. I would have never guessed the syntax requiring a pointer to access the value, but that's
because
nice.
max element is returning an iterator and the pointer is calling an overloaded method on the iterator that gets the value out of the iterator.
Nice. And auto is some...
It's like whatever.
Whatever the type is, and this is a change in the C++ learning area, I would say. It's helpful that you don't need to depend or exactly know if this is like an iterator on a vector with integer and wrapped other things, type defs, whatnot, but it makes the code more readable. And in that sense, when maxnum is being printed here, it knows it expects an IO stream or a string stream and automatically converts that. If not possible, you get an exception.
Yeah.
Or a
And
segfault.
if we make a slight change, for example, if we remove that pointer, maxnum won't be an integer anymore because it will be the iterator.
Yeah,
And
and if I build that, it should throw me a compiler error.
Exactly.
And it says, well, yeah, it tries different conversions. And oh yeah, this is something which I don't like, but the compiler errors have been improved. But to be honest, I don't know which compiler it's using currently, but it looks like GCC,
Yeah, that's probably using GCC.
because Clang wraps the errors a little better. Um,
Oh,
as far as I know, but we can figure this out in a bit. It's telling me there's no operate by. Okay. Okay. This this is something I would probably ask or need to ask what the error is. But you wanted to say something. Sorry.
yeah, I'm curious to prompt another thing now. Asking it to find the index of max num when it is an iterator, so without the pointer.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, find the index of the iterator inside of the list.
Ah, okay.
I guess we will need to tell it to use max num and random nums as list and
Maybe I can just cheat and
oh, okay.
not extract the iterator. Maybe this works. Maybe the other one works. Let's find out.
Okay.
Ah, it's actually also some reason the prompt doesn't work that way, but
Okay, that's good because it's using the pointer there to get the
ah, you already saw that, because I was sometimes the suggestion is also like I'm reading it and I'm trying to parse it, but often it really makes sense. You accept it, then you review whether it makes sense, and you can still delete it, because if you don't accept it and then press cursor, the suggestion might be gone and you need to redo everything. So when in doubt, accept the suggestion and continue developing. What also made sense for me is when code is working, commit it into the Git branch and then continue working. So you always have like this works, the next step has been implemented, and so on. Because in the end, you can either push the Git history or you squash it locally into one commit, or do that later on when the merge request gets merged, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should be having this, and in order to prove that, clear, we build it again, we run it again, and we get the same result, but using a different type here.
Yeah, and I guess it could have enough context to ask it to get the index of the iterator inside of the list.
So what exactly should I write?
Uh, Find the index of the iterator inside of the list. Oh, yes. That works, and it had enough context to know which list to use and which iterator to use.
Hmm. Hey.
And this is something that I would personally use, not daily, but when I need to. I always forget how to get the index of an iterator, and I usually Google that, but this way it's much easier.
Yeah, I somewhere many years ago, I remember learning about standard distance to kind of measure the difference. But getting a suggestion and also I mean, I would probably have wasted hours of my life or weeks of my life just printing things. Um, and I was using a German keyboard previously. I switched to a US keyboard recently, breaking my fingers with all the angel brackets. So I think this is a great way, but we didn't test it yet. So let's build it again and run it again.
Yeah, the same index as before.
Hmm.
And there's also the refactor code refactoring. Is that working for C++?
I don't know, but we can try it out. We could say, for
And
example,
when you do the refactor, do you still have to, can you still tell it to what to change, or you simply say refactor this code?
I think you can add instructions, but I'm not sure if I will get them through GitLab Duo Chat.
Okay.
So there are different entry points at the moment, but this might change. I can select the code which I want to refactor, which is at the moment, I think, a requirement. Then I need to change into GitLab Duo Chat and say refactor. And this is the same as the refactor / command. And I think that the refactor command also takes more context. The problem with like refactoring source code is that sometimes it takes a little bit, but here's the selected code.
Duplicated logic into reusable helper functions. Plus vector by concept reference by value. Okay, that's good.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I can, so what I can do now is like, we have that in Git. I can copy this here and either paste it at the bottom or replace it. Oh no, it's using functions. So I will need to call the functions afterwards.
Yes.
So what I want to do is essentially copying this on top, not in the main function. And it still requires me a little knowledge of what I'm doing. Put this into the main function scope with the required indent. And in order to let others know, this is the code after asking GitLab Duo to refactor the iterator examples. Requires the helper functions on top of this source file. So this is not for GitLab Duo Chat, but for us to know what happened.
Yeah.
And okay, it uses print max.
Huh. What's that complaining about? Oh, it's missing STD. Hmm.
No, I think STD.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
For some reason, this worked before. Why does it complain here? nums begin. And here it's the problem. It cannot convert that.
Oh.
Find max iter.
Try to change iterator to const iterator on the return value. So on line 10, after that, yeah, const underscore iterator. Yeah.
Oh, because max element returns a const iterator. Okay. And this one is likely
probably the same because it's using a const reference vector and you need a const iterator. Yeah, these are very peculiar stuff, C++ related.
Yeah, I know, because it's also you shouldn't pass like std vector int, but rather use a const reference to pass the reference, but not allowed to make any changes. I would rather like use similar to like other programming languages, just pass the variable and everything is works automatically. But yeah, I mean, you've seen it very fast. I would probably have either like pasted the error message into Google Chat and see what happens. Or actually, yeah, I should have compiled it and maybe worked that way. Or knowing like how it works with iterators.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Oh, because yeah, you have to comment out the old code.
okay. Can we cheat here? This work? And
oh, there's still one piece left to comment out.
oh, tired week, not good at programming. Thanks.
No.
And I would also say like if you're using GitLab Duo code suggestions, do that as a team effort. Or if you're starting to adopt it, like pair programming is still fun in a group, or like in a group of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. And learning to use code suggestions together is probably also much more fun.
Yeah.
So this is an invitation to also join me in future sessions and challenge me or challenge us to write some code. What else can we? Okay, we fix that. We build it. We run it. But also like print max. For example, fix the missing space here. But also like refactor that later on. What the thing I want to do now is, now that we've created some functions, we can also say how to test it. And I'm not sure what happened, but I can also say GitLab Duo Chat should generate a test for me.
The test generation is quite good actually when creating specs for the GitLab code base in Ruby.
Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly which model is being used for test generation, but it's documented. So we can actually like look it up in the documentation for test generation, if I can find it. the table changed. For some reason I cannot find which model is being used. But anyhow, it's not important. We can figure this out later on. Looking at what it generated is it's using a test macro. Okay, find max test, assert.
I don't really know what test framework it's using though, because I honestly don't really write that many tests in C++.
I mean, we started using the Boost framework many years ago, which provides a test library as well. So you can use Boost.Test to generate tests. But I'm curious now what code. What if I say I want to generate tests? Such as test cases. But I also want to use Duo Chat. So what I'm looking for is like code tasks, which is the command that I can use here.
Oh.
So it works in the same way as I can use the context menu in Visual Studio Code. You can directly ask GitLab Duo Chat, and then we set the configuration tests. Use. I'm just trying this now. Use C++ test or use best practices for C++ test frameworks. So from what I understood is you can provide more context what should be done here. So you're essentially rewriting the prompt a little bit. Okay, it's using the Google test macros. What if I want to write tests using Boost? Okay. There's no history yet, but want to have that. Write tests using the Boost test framework. So maybe I'm using that already, and just want to ask it. I just want to try it. The next question I have is, oh, okay, it actually knows about this.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this requires my CMakeLists, my CMake configuration to be expanded to like include Boost and so on. But this is a learning step. If you're not bound to a specific test framework, or like if you're using Boost already, it makes sense to use the Boost test framework. Google test will also work. But I really wanted to see what happens here. And this looks pretty sane. What I like about the Boost framework is like you can test check equal, write some things and so on. So I'm pretty much used to this syntax. I have no idea how this works. But we can like copy that. And I can see that it's using G-test. So this will definitely require an additional library.
Yeah.
Let's ask how to add Google test framework to a C++ project. And this is how time is running fast while learning. It's what I figured is when you want to see how things are working, book yourself 1 hour, 2 hours in your calendar to focus on testing a specific use case. It's not a 5-minute learning experience, and you should have the time to do so. Okay, download and install that Google test source code. Okay.
I'm not really sure we'll be able to test the tests.
I mean, I'm using a submodule download and install the Google source code. Add how to download the Google test source code as Git submodule. I've seen that somewhere on the internet, so I roughly know that you just need to include like the path from github.com /Google/test, I think, and it's embedded into your source code. Could also use Git subtree to just like clone it, or just download it and add it to the project. Maybe it's faster to just navigate into the project and get a download link. I don't know. Maybe the question was too generic. So at some point, maybe it makes sense to how to download Google test. Since we now know that we need to use that, or there are some instructions. That's great. An answer. Okay, that was a timeout, unfortunately. Why is that? Okay. Release. How to add that? Getting started. What is the Google test primer? Yeah, okay, it's interesting. I just want to edit. Okay. No. Installation, quick start, CMake. Okay. Here's my project. Okay.
Oh.
And you can download that via CMake.
And it also requires a ++14.
Okay. I mean, I haven't. What is the version? Oh, it's actually Apple Clang. Something totally different. But yeah, it works as a C++ compiler on macOS, but it's not GCC on its own. But this is the most current one, so I'm using Sonoma, the latest release, which should
14 is definitely supported.
Should support that. And we can change. Still want to get the suggestion here. How to set up Google test with CMake. But I also don't want to like wait for that. We want to change that to 14. And standard required on. I have no idea what this means. But it's, if the instructions say so, do it. 314. Yeah, I learned that from experience. You fail, you say, well, it just needs this and this, and then you debug for 3 hours, and later on you figure out, I should have just said as the documentation told me to. For Windows, okay, we are not using Windows, but we can, I'm not sure if I want to download that every time, but I'm not questioning the docs now. There, and well, okay, fetch content, make available. I think I still need that as well, maybe.
No, CRT is a library only for Windows.
Yeah, but I need to fetch contact.
Oh, make available, yeah.
Create and run a binary. As an example, hello test. At executable. Oh my God. So using that in a test directory is probably okay. I could also use find package. If that works.
Yeah, if that works, that would be good.
This would be much better than downloading it. Let's see. Test command slash format commenting. Let's maybe see if that works. Oh, CMake. Yeah. I don't know exactly what find package does, but
if the gtest isn't installed locally, but find package is going to try and search for an installation of gtest locally, but you have to have it installed.
That's interesting. That it's only looking it up, so you need to install it either using probably Homebrew, or somehow maybe it's available. No.
Nope.
Maybe it's called Google Test.
Oh,
interesting. So I mean, this is macOS now on a Linux system. You probably have that available as a package as well. And what find package does, it looks up the system include headers and libraries and tries to fetch that from there. So if I install that using Homebrew now, it's probably also requiring some additional things to configure that, which I'm not sure if I want to do that now, but we can also just say, let's enable this one, disable this one. Oh, it was actually finished faster than I could look it up. If I run CMake now again, this. Okay. It complains about something not for production use, but it downloaded the build, and now we should be able to test that.
So
And
that's the test source file.
it's a little confusing with the test directory. But I could, so if I'm scrolling up a little to the to this thing, if I create a test, which I will call, what should it be called?
Main_tests.
And copy that in here.
Change the include.
Okay. And then I need to tell it in that file with a new CMake file. Hopefully. CMakeLists. Using only this, I guess. And we also need to place that with or that work. Okay. And okay. The subdirectory is not included. So it doesn't know about this. Oh.
Oh yeah, it's CSP.
I don't know. It's probably this creates a war if I'm saying I'm a fan of this notation using CPP and not CC. But yeah.
I'm used to use CPP, and that's CCP.
Oh no! Thanks. Yeah, it's good to have AI and a human pair program. So let's see. Not run. Tests not built. Interesting. Why does it say not built?
Good question. Oh, no, I don't know.
Does it have to be a special flag? Oh, I cannot use make test. Eh?
Huh.
CMake build? C-test. Okay. Oh, okay. C-test is a wrapper for make test. Explain the C-test error with I'm not sure if it will answer something, but it's a little weird. Main test not built.
I wonder if this was set up correctly, because on the
No,
website, it might have been a little bit different.
oh, it knows. Okay, a test command was used, but the tests are not being built. So let's edit. Add test. Add subdirectory. So add executable. Target link. Include. And GDS discover tests. Highly likely the source code which is added here doesn't add the tests. Hmm. Oh wait, no, this looks sane. So for some
But that
reason,
had enabled testing on the test project.
so here at test, the test is a dependency. So this one just
Okay.
downloads that. You found a solution? No.
No, I was looking at enable testing, but that's good to have it at the top level CMake lists.
So this is building an executable, but it seems it's never building that executable. So maybe I need to run make first. I check.
Oh,
I didn't do that before.
nope.
What happens with C? Okay, now it doesn't find anything. It's an interesting failure change. That way it couldn't find anything, and now it doesn't run anything. Do I need to call anything else after defining the test?
I don't know.
Um,
I don't think so. It's not doing it in here.
cover tests. CMake. Clear the valid test. Discover. You somehow need to discover that. Okay, I'm just copy pasting this now. I don't want to guess things. Okay. Source directory. Okay, you need to execute that from here. That doesn't make sense. And then
Tell CMake to build instead of calling make manually.
okay. And then you do that. Okay, it's basically the same what we did, but for some reason
It's not working.
cannot discover the test. What happens? I mean, I'm in the build directory, so I should have the binary somewhere. So when I execute main tests, okay, this is actually something else.
Oh, because it has a main function. Maybe.
Yeah, I think I think probably if this would be in, and I mean, you typically don't do that, but what did we do here? I'm just calling it like that. If I would be moving this, oops, into this, and then I'm doing something where everyone will hate me for that. But if I say include without a header file, this should still work to some degree, except for
I guess it's enough to include IO stream.
yeah, it should. We should include IO stream again. Let's see. And this is okay. And if we change main test to this one,
yeah,
there might be a chance that this works. Except for, I forgot something. It also needs to include that. And
well, you maybe don't need that because you're including the file inside of the other one.
okay, then let's just try that. Oh, wrong directory. And we're building that, and segfault, nice.
That's actually one thing that I wanted to try before, because when I saw that it generated a code to get the value out of the iterator, even when the iterator could not exist because the starting array was empty.
Okay, let's try to fix that, but let's see, what do I need here? What happens in tests? Is that safe? Yes, safe to add. Add working Google test integration. Still errors. Okay. So this is now persisted if someone wants to continue learning. And now we need to look here. Oh, no, we need to, the first test was failing. So we have an empty vector that's like searching for find max, which is this one. It calls max element, and this might return an empty vector. Oh, what is? But it shouldn't seg. Yeah, okay, it's C++, it's segfaults. Is it possible to run a single test and attach a debugger?
Because you want to see what happens, or
I want to see, so like from a developer's perspective, when a segfault happens, I actually want to see the memory, or like the moment it segfaults, I actually want to print, like, is the index null, or is it a out of range point or something like that. So I typically have the feeling I want to attach a debugger to that. And in order to do that, I need to extract the single test from the test suite, run that, and attach a debugger. Run a single. I mean, it goes way beyond what I wanted to try now in this session, but maybe I will just ask Duo Chat how to run a single test in the Google test framework on the command line. Maybe there's a way, it's probably documented. I do know it's possible with the Boost framework, which allows you to like run a single compiled binary and then passing the test name to it. And
Oh, yeah. I think it's basically the same that you were mentioning.
oh, Google actually uses the same one. Okay, so I could say in the build directory we have tests. I actually need to know. I need to know which binary I need to call, but I would assume main tests. Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the segmentation fault we are now seeing. That's great.
Yep.
I mean, it's not great, but it's great for testing. I would probably be rich for the many segfaults I've seen in my developer life. And we can pass along this one. Oops.
And he was actually smart enough to create various scenarios. For example, the empty vector that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think as probably as an experienced developer, you know about extreme test cases and like how to test a possible regression. But we're all human, so we might forget about this.
Yeah.
I recently tested code suggestions with Python, and it generated tests for like division by zero to really capture that exception with Python. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I thought about this, but probably would never have implemented it yet. So yeah, it's running this one, and I'm not sure if can I attach to that. Oh. Ah, okay, great. Yeah, the problem is if you run lldb, which you need to run on macOS because GDB is a little hard to run here, you need to use 2 dashes and then pass the entire string.
Uh-huh.
Now I want to run it. Oh, fancy. And okay, the thread is stopped. Find max. And in this scope, I can like generate a backtrace, so I can see how it gets executed, but it's probably it's a little hard to debug. But I can see that find max is doing something bad here, and I can try to print nums. Is possible. Ooh, and now it's on me. It's like how to print a variable value from a backtrace in lldb. I'm not sure if it knows about it, but I would also like use GitLab Duo Chat as a way to help me debug software. Like, I cannot remember the syntax of all the debuggers, and sometimes they're integrated in the UI, and you can set a breakpoint and see how it crashes. Okay, das frame variable. Frame select. Okay. Is it available? No. What do I get here? Nothing. Okay.
Oh, maybe because nums doesn't exist, it has been changed to something else.
Yeah, it's probably optimized or something. And our build is probably a release build, maybe. So
Oh, good point.
all the debug symbols are gone.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I don't want to like waste too much time on debugging things. But it can be a helpful way to start a debugger, to ask what is the syntax, to continue asking, because otherwise I would open my browser and create a lot of tabs with my questions,
Yeah.
which is always a context distraction because after 20 different options, I still need to come back and continue. So I think this can also be a helpful way. And we might be doing a specific how to debug a segfault in a program session at a later point. But for now, I would love to there a way to create a sensible security vulnerability in that code? Just to take a quick look into how to find a security vulnerability or how to explain that. For that, I need two things. I need to configure CI/CD for the project. It also has security scanning. Or just security scanning. How to add GitLab SAST for C++ into CI into CI/CD configuration. So we actually need to create this one. And to create a security vulnerability, what I found pretty useful is to use string copy as a C function without any buffer size specifier.
Yeah. Oh,
That's super nice. I like copy pasting that.
that's
Because
using the new CI/CD catalog.
it's not using the CI/CD catalog yet, but it's using the
Oh, the
CI/CD
template.
the template. But I still find it super useful to just include a template because I
Yeah.
cannot. I'm honest here. I cannot remember the path here. I've used that probably 1,000 times, but it's still like I don't know that. So I was wondering how to use that. And there's also a way to override specific SAST scanner variables and things like that. So you can like even refine the scanner to be more performant or to scan only specific sections.
Yeah.
But in reality, I was really just looking for what is the copy paste template include. But it's a good idea actually, because either we can use that or use the migrated component. I mean, it's in beta right now, so it's not recommended for production, but can also use the SAST component and include that. We just need to figure out what the latest release is. Or, I mean, this was not the right way to do that. GitLab catalog explore and search the catalog for that. And catalog takes a little bit. It's 1.0. Okay. So we can actually combine two projects of mine, GitLab Duo and CI/CD, and include the component in version 1.0, and then remove that. And since it's in the documentation, there might also be an option to ask GitLab Duo Chat to specifically provide the component include. But I'm just fine with that now. And the other thing I want to cheat a little bit with is the source code for the SAST to like create a vulnerability is, my internet is for some reason slow again. It's this one. Okay, take a note here. I mean, maybe there's a way to ask AI to create a security vulnerability, but I'm not sure. We can try that. I just want to. Oh, we can actually. Oh, I just remembered that I was writing using OpenSSL for encryption, and this is a pain to write if you don't have any abstraction layers. Could also be a way to get more efficient with writing code and asking GitLab Duo how to write that. Security vulnerability from this one. And oops. Great. Security vulnerability with string copy without.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Now we are entering a dark area, I would say. It's good for testing security scanning, but you shouldn't add that to your source code. I think this should segfault actually. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, quitting GDB is Q and then confirming. Build. Did we change something? No. Okay, it's not segfaulting yet. Oops. Oh. Okay.
You need to provide a or declare name as a 2 characters vector, because Marco fits into the vector.
Ah, oh yeah, I need to write Marco and Michi are using GitLab Duo today to explain a vulnerability and fix it. This should work. Thanks.
I should also mention you that I unfortunately I only have other 5 minutes or so.
That's totally fine. Let's try to, if we can make that happen with the GitLab CI YAML and
Don't you want to push up the main as well?
oh yeah, thanks. I just use add to add a file, and then I use the A flag to commit everything.
Oh, okay.
And but thanks. It's confusing when I type fast. And a vulnerable C++ code example. So if I push that now, and the compiler told me that I'm not using something good here, but it's just a warning.
Yeah.
You know that. But I really want to see whether the SAST scanner will detect that. So in our project here, And now we can actually test whether GitLab Duo Chat. Now it's syncing the session. Okay, it's the other way around. So if you're using Visual Studio Code, you can continue in the session here. It's also the possibility that you use reset to
clean up.
To clean up the session and start a new context as well. Okay, we have the security scanner, we have secure, we have our security dashboard, and we should have a fancy vulnerability.
Yeah.
Here. But it says low. Okay, what is the vulnerability report saying? Flow file. Okay, SAST scanner triggered something. And the thing is, I don't know what it does. It says there's a solution, use something else. But let's just assume I don't know what it is or how to fix that. So using explain this vulnerability will open a prompt. It's currently in beta, so it should help us with something else. And what I really like about like explaining it is it provides like a summary of the vulnerable code. So it's like a snippet you can test as a standalone instance. And then the attacker can take a string that is longer than the size of the buffer and pass it to the function, which creates an overflow. String copy name. Yeah, and this is actually cutting off the string to the size of to the length -1, which is helpful in that case. So you can like mitigate it. I mean, you need to rewrite the algorithm on its own, but just imagine that someone passes that string from a web form or from whatever log file that is being passed or in the application. So yeah, this is a helpful explanation here. I think. Oh yeah, it's not enabled for our group yet. But there's a way, or there's a new feature coming which allows you to create a merge request to fix the vulnerability.
Gotcha.
I cannot show that now. So yeah, this was actually the vulnerability we have created, which is great. And because we're running out of time, I would say let's make a cut here and just a quick summary. We looked into using GitLab Duo Chat, how to start a C++ project, writing code, got explanations how to generate tests, but also how to refactor code, made it more useful. And last but not least, we also looked into creating a security vulnerability using GitLab SAST for security scanning and explaining and fixing the vulnerability, which is a lot to unpack, but I hope it was helpful for you. And I'm happy to have you in a future session and continue what we learned or look into Ruby code and how to contribute to GitLab. But yeah, any final thoughts?
Not really. I was not really thoughts, but impressions mostly. And I was really impressed by how well it managed. If you give it a good enough prompt, it's very good at suggesting code that does what you want to do. And that's for the code generation, and even for the tests. And like we mentioned, it created tests, for example, quite even not tricky, but that one might miss, for example, the empty vector or stuff like that. That's very useful. I'm pretty sure that I will show this this video to the rest of the office, because we are evaluating some stuff, and that together with the vulnerability that you last showed me, it's going to be quite interesting to us.
Awesome. And I mean, if when you share the video, which will be on YouTube later on, collect ideas, collect thoughts, share it with the team. Maybe we do like a bigger group learning session.
So
Could be something like I mean, having real developers out there with the real problems is what we're trying to help solve, getting more efficient. So every idea counts. There's no like dumb questions. We can ask GitLab Duo Chat, and hopefully we learn something and get more efficient from that. So yeah, I totally enjoyed our session today, and I learned a lot myself. So I appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you showing me.
That being said, I will host another GitLab Duo coffee chat soon. We will figure out the topic then. And until then, happy coding, and hopefully get more efficient.
Hopefully. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.